Ray Pierre from Chicago essentially says that a 3% discount rate trivializes everything that's going to happen in 1,000 years. That's exactly true. It also happens to be both what we do in real life, and it also makes sense. Think about how would we predict and intelligently talk about how we should deal with issues that are going to happen in 1,000 years. Imagine if Vikings had to think about what kinds of investments should they have made to make Chicago a good place to live today. It's very hard to imagine that any smart policies would have come out of that. Moreover, if you pick a much lower discount rate, it just doesn't reflect what we're actually doing. Imagine if you picked Sir Nicholas Stern's argument of picking a 0.1% discount rate. That essentially means that you leave everything to the future. You just eat porridge for yourself and you leave everything else to the future. Remember, they will have to do the exact same thing, so we're essentially just pushing an enormous amount of wealth in front of us and not utilizing any of it. First of all, we don't act that way, but secondly, it would also be a gross underuse of actual resources. We wouldn't actually ever get to the point where we would utilize any of it. The calculations show that we should be spending 97.5% of our income on future generations. Nobody does that. I'm pretty sure Ray Pierre doesn't do that either. Certainly I don't. And it's important to recognize it wouldn't make good sense. We spend about 15% on future generations. And I think that's good. We want to leave good things for our future. But we also need to recognize that there are many problems we want to fix in the present. And lastly, let's also just remember when we want to leave stuff for future generations, we do so through generalized investment, not through specific ideas. Again, imagine the Vikings couldn't have thought of what specifically do we need in 2010. And I guess a very good example would be look at when the Titanic catastrophe happened in 1912. The initial idea was to say we want to make sure that doesn't happen, so we need to have an extended way to look at where our icebergs, maybe station people in each iceberg, map out all the places, have an integrated telegraph system, making sure people know where all the icebergs are at all time. It would have been a very elaborate, very expensive system, but of course, 50 years later, we fly over the Atlantic instead, and it's become almost a non-issue. And it underscores the problem that saying you want to solve a particular problem with a particular intervention very often misses the point, because technology 50 or 100 and certainly 1,000 years later do not need those particular innovations. Instead, they need our generalized investment, which is investment in technology and wealth. That's the thing we should leave for our future, and that is what we leave with a discount rate of about 3%, 15% for the future, but also realizing we are going to spend, and it makes sense to spend, a large proportion on the current generation.